Hey everyone, it's Dr. Hillary from Rangeline Chiropractic. I am here with Farah Myers. She is a family nurse practitioner here in Carmel, and she's going to talk to us about sleep patterns, sleep hygiene. Farah, tell us a little bit about yourself and your practice here in Carmel, Indiana.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I opened and own Cool Creek Family Health. I am a direct primary care clinic in the Arts District in Carmel. And so, what is direct primary care? It's essentially primary care with a touch of concierge. So, what I do is I provide all of your primary care services for a low monthly membership fee. So, I like to say anything I can do within my four walls is included in your membership fee. And then, we offer extended visit times, direct access to me, as well as discounts on labs and things like that, and same day, next day scheduling. So I just got into this to make healthcare easier to navigate, to make it simple, to make prices transparent. I just got really kind of disillusioned with how it was when I was working in the traditional insurance clinics, that it was like seeing 20 patients a day and you don't get to know them and all of that stuff. So it's been a wild ride so far, and I'm really enjoying it, and love this direct primary care model, and my patients are loving it too.
Nice. And you're in a little Victorian house on North Rangeline.
Yeah.
I think it's yellow. Is it yellow?
It's like a cream color with maroon accents to it.
Yep.
So,
Yep,
yeah.
I saw it the other day driving by.
Yeah.
So what are we going to talk about with sleep? Are we going to go take a nap right now, or are we going to wait for later?
That would be amazing, but might be a little bit too late for a nap. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about sleep hygiene. So I have a lot of patients that come to me that we talk about a lot of different things, why they can't lose weight, maybe stress or even blood pressure, those kind of things. And a lot of times the first thing they'll ask is, do you snore? Do you have morning headaches? And that's when we're kind of screening for obstructive sleep apnea, right? And so we all know that a lot of people know, but one of the things to learn is that with obstructive sleep apnea, where we need the CPAP and everything, there's a lot of cardiovascular risk for that. But not everybody has sleep apnea. What a lot of us have, are problems with our sleep hygiene. And what I generally do in my physicals is I ask a lot about sleep. And when it comes down to it, a lot of patients don't get enough sleep. They don't have good sleep hygiene to where they can fall asleep. They have trouble falling asleep, or sometimes sleep latency, where it's trouble staying asleep, and they don't know how to cope with it and what they can do. And so then eventually they end up on a medication or something like that. And then maybe they try it and like it, maybe they don't. So what I wanted to kind of talk about is a couple of healthier ways and natural lifestyle measures that you can do in order to help with your sleep hygiene.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah. So one of the things, so when we kind of are getting ready for bed, the dim light hits our eyes. It goes through our retina, which processes into our brain, and it signals what's called the pineal gland, which we also, like yogis like to call, their third eye. And so with that, it secretes a substance which helps to produce melatonin and serotonin. And these are very calming hormones. Everybody knows about melatonin for sleep and all that. But serotonin is also a really calming hormone for us, and our neurotransmitter for us. And so when that gets released, then we start to get sleepy and tired, and then we get ready for bed. And then eventually we fall asleep. And there's a certain, like, about an hour before bedtime is when we start secreting that. And so what happens, though, in our busy lives is, especially COVID times, right, where everybody's working from home and trying to manage kids, so they put work till later, is that we start to get on our phones. We start to watch TV. We get back on our computer after we put the kids to bed. And during that time is when melatonin is supposed to be going and getting more and more, so we fall asleep. But the problem is that bright light from our screens, it reactivates us. So it's not a dim light signaling. And then all of a sudden we lose our melatonin, we lose our ability to fall asleep. And so that's one big thing, is if you're having trouble falling asleep, really need to put those screens away 1 hour before bedtime. That blue light that those screens emit really messes with our sleep cycle. Another thing you could try is that a lot of people will be like, well, I have to work. I can't just not work, right?
Right.
So one of the things you could try is getting those glasses that are the blue blocker glasses. And so that would block the blue light. So that would help you to continue to produce some of the melatonin while you're on the computer. Now, I can't say how much that work is going to stress you out and everything like that before bed. So I prefer just not working before bed.
I'll put mine on as we speak. How about that?
See, now you'll be ready for a nap in no time.
Yeah, fall asleep here at the office. Didn't mean to interrupt you, but as we spoke, you were just so bright. All your bright light and energy was just radiating at me.
Exactly. So that's something that you could try before bed, and maybe wearing those like an hour before bedtime would help kind of signal and get you ready for bed. Some of the other things is that we want our core body temperature to actually drop a bit. So keeping your room cooler is a better thing. So in the winter, obviously it's easier. We want to actually aim for 60 degrees to 65 degrees. I know that sounds crazy, but that really helps us sleep a lot better. So that's another thing that we can try. And then the other thing is it's what we call like chrononutrition. So part of it, and we talk a lot about intermittent fasting, things like that for weight loss, but actually eating too late at night can actually jumpstart your metabolism in a way that makes it harder for you to sleep. Now, on the flip side of that, there are some people that if you're having that trouble of waking up at like 3 a.m. with hunger pains because you didn't have enough or whatever it is, some of those people benefit from just a small protein or even a carbohydrate, just a small one just before bedtime, and that will help keep them satiated overnight. So it's kind of that depends on how you feel. If you have trouble and you wake up and you're hungry, then maybe we should have a little something before bed, but try to avoid that late night snacking and that will help. And that will also help, overall health and weight loss too.
Yeah. So not having the cookies and ice cream at night, but perhaps just a handful of nuts.
Yes, exactly. Little, maybe some cheese, something like that, or a little yogurt, something like that would help. So, for sure. Yeah. So those are just a couple tips that, that you can use as far as your sleep hygiene. We want to aim for about at least 7 hours of sleep a night. It is amazing when I poll my patients on how much they sleep per night, and so many are only getting 5 or 6 hours of sleep a night. And you'll notice that once you start aiming for that 7, your productivity will go shoot through the roof. Your mood will shoot through the roof. You'll start to feel better overall in general if you just commit to that 7 hours of sleep every night.
I know so many people say 8. I'm always happy with 7. I'm elated with 8. And then sometimes 9 is like, it's a little too much for me, It
makes you feel more tired the next day when you slept too much, right?
Yeah.
So that 7, that the American Sleep Society recommends 7 is kind of that sweet spot between 7 and 8 hours. It just all depends on what you need. But, you get that good sleep and then you'll start to feel better. And, and it really, that sleep affects so many things. And we were talking earlier a little bit about cortisol and how that works. And so we kind of have this like sleep wake cycle with our cortisol, and cortisol is our stress hormone, right? And so if our cortisol is dysregulated, that messes with our glucose metabolism. And so if our sugar metabolism is messed up, that causes weight gain, that causes diabetes, those kind of things. And so that's something our cortisol should be a little bit higher in the morning. And as we know, kind of midday, it starts to drop. And we realize like around 2-3 o'clock, we're getting pretty sleepy. Or just kind of like, oh man, I'm losing focus, So that's where sometimes a little snack boost, a healthy snack boost can help. And then, and our cortisol will start coming down over in the evening. If some people I can test.
I was just going to say, do you ever test at the different times during the day? I always found that so interesting to see my levels at different times of the day.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can kind of do a 4 time of the day test of the saliva cortisol level, and you can see where people fall and is it dysregulated. And if that's the case, then we need to reset their circadian rhythm. And so, and also there are some people where if the cortisol is kind of off, so if they have a low cortisol in the AM where it's just like you wake up and you are just dragging, you cannot get up out of bed and all of that, and then you go to bed and in the evening and you're kind of wired and it's hard to go to sleep, that disruption can be a sign of like a biological depression for some people.
Interesting.
And so that's something that instead of trying like going for the antidepressant or whatever it is, it's let's reset your circadian rhythm. And there's different ways that we can do that, either with, some natural elements or just even trying the sleep hygiene and just trying to get you back on track.
Yeah. I could also see that being a big issue for third shift and second shift type workers.
Oh yes. That's a good one. And that's hard. That's a hard one that you just can't really beat because that's that's how they work. And so sometimes just getting that regulated a little bit more as far as making sure they actually get the right amount of sleep. And, if they do go back and forth, I remember, working as a nurse, you work those night shifts and you work 3 nights a week, and then you're supposed to be normal for your kids the rest of the time. And you're like, what?
They don't care. They don't care that mom didn't have sleep. No.
So then you would only sleep like 4 or 5 hours. And, and then if I worked 3 shifts in a row, it was like by the 3rd shift, it's like, man, I am just dragging, And so that's, we're not meant for shift work, but, unfortunately some people have to do it. But there are ways that you can find ways to cope with that. And talking to your healthcare provider is a big one of them.
Yeah. And I was also thinking about a lot of the new moms or the moms that I see in my practice with young kids and babies. And they're like, yep, we were up at 2:00 and 4:00. And I'm like, oh, I miss the babies, but I don't miss like that not getting sleep. That's so important to me.
Yeah. And I know. And I remember they would always say, sleep when the baby sleeps. It's like, no, because I have laundry and I have dishes and I have things to do. And so like that kid's asleep, I'm doing something.
Or you got the other kid to deal with, or also make sure you get your exercise in.
Oh, I know. It's
right?
hard. I call that, I mean, I have 3 kids and they're 10, 7, and 4. And I just remember, like, I feel like we're now we're kind of like 2 years out of it, but like, it was like, I called those, my mother-in-law always called them the zombie years, where it's just like, you're just getting by. And, and there really isn't much of a way to avoid that, but for your average professional that definitely gets, can get the sleep, it's like, we got to work on those habits to really maximize our sleep hygiene, because man, our body relies so much on sleep just to heal throughout the day, to process everything that happens. Why do we dream? That's because we're processing everything that's going on in our brain. And so everything that's happened for the day. I remember when I was studying, it was like, I would stay up because I knew I had a test. And then I started to realize it's like, nope, 9:00, I'm done. And I would, hope you can sleep with your notes under your pillow, right? When you were in chiropractic school, like,
it was like osmosis through your space. Yeah, I remember. I tried that stuff too.
But I did realize it was like when I made that change to stop staying up so late, and I would just be like, all right, if I don't know it now, then I don't know it. Then I actually did much better on tests going off of a full night's sleep. So can definitely help.
If anyone watching, I think I see about 4 people listening right now. If you guys have any questions, I see that Alexis, you put at the beginning of it, she put all of the following for me. So you're listing some things at the beginning, and I think Alexis said all of them with some smiley faces. But if anyone listening has any questions, we do have time for a little Q&A. Just post it below, and I'll see it on my end. But Farah, do you want to go through real quick, just reiterate some of the tips you said at the beginning for those who might be getting on right now to listen?
Yeah, sure. So a couple of things for sleep hygiene, that you can try. One is we got to get off those screens. We got to commit to it for at least an hour before bedtime. Television is probably the least biggest offender, the smallest offender of it, but it's the phones. Keep the phones out of the bedroom. I'll be very blunt and honest. Your bedroom and your bed is meant for sleep and sex. That's about it. So, no phones in the bedroom, no scrolling on Facebook before we go to bed. All of that wakes you back up and gets you all ramped up, and then you start having trouble sleeping. The other thing is, if you are one of those that has to work in the evening, and that's, and I get it, that's just what life is right now. Try those blue blocker glasses that Hillary's wearing that block that blue light to get you not so amped up and wake up. So it helps with the melatonin and things like that. So those are the couple of things. And then, some of the other things we talked about was kind of the eating habits. So you kind of have to figure out are you waking up and getting hungry at 3 a.m? Well, then maybe we need a small protein snack before bed to satiate you overnight. But if you're having trouble falling asleep, it could be because you've jump-started your metabolism and you've eaten something. You've eaten some sugar or something like that. Nice dessert. The kids go to bed. Well, it's your turn to dig into that ice cream. But By all means, have some ice cream with your kids at 7, or increase it like that. And you want to try and get, at least for the least amount of that intermittent fasting, try a 12-hour fast. So make sure you're for that 12 hours overnight that you're, to get the best sleep.
Yeah. Alexis said that she's also heard the same things. Yes.
Yes, I know. The thing is, you hear the same things. The problem is implementing them. So
we all have our issues. Yeah, you and I both know these things, but we've all been guilty of scrolling on Facebook at night or watching, having to watch these last episodes of certain shows on Netflix that are going to go off soon, so I have to finish the series. It's 11 o'clock, and I'm like, just one more series to go.
Well, and the one thing too is if you're gonna, if we want to do that, if we want a Netflix binge, that's okay, right? Just make sure that you make up for it the next day and get to bed, Or the other thing too is a lot of people do is that multitasking, right? You're watching and then you're on your phone, you're watching TV, and you're kind of doing both, and that is actually not relaxation. That is so much multitasking. There's so much going on in here that it totally stimulates all of that and makes it harder for you to go to bed.
Yeah, so bad. I'm so guilty of that. You have given us such great tips, and for some of us that know it, and like Alexis knows it, I know it, you know it, but just to reiterate that, I think it's always good because sometimes we forget things, and we're like, oh yeah, I am supposed to do that, or maybe I shouldn't have eaten that peanut butter cup at night. I should have just eaten a handful of almonds instead.
Well, and I think just reiterating that and like you said, just realizing that that's why you had a crummy night's sleep or you couldn't fall asleep gives you, half of it is just acknowledging that that's why it was. It wasn't like, oh, it was, I don't know what happened. It's taking responsibility for your actions and kind of, doing those lifestyle changes, I think is a huge part of it.
Yeah, maybe even like a little journal about sleep and, how you felt when you woke up and what time you went to bed and what you ate prior to it. So you can kind of track it. I always love stuff like that.
Yeah. And I mean, we didn't even touch on the importance of exercise in correlation with sleep too. So, and I know we talked about having all the kids and trying to figure out a way to do it, but some is better than none. So
yes, it is. I agree. Well, thank you so much for coming on. You always have such great information and tips, and we'll put some of your information below this. That way, if anyone has any other questions, they can reach out to you. I also know you do is it free consultations?
I do. So
I didn't want to throw that out there and you'd be like, no, I don't.
No. What I
guess you do now, don't you, Farah?
I will now. Yeah. I do it. So I set up 30-minute meet and greets with people so we can kind of discuss the model. And I like to talk to them about some of their healthcare and kind of what has their healthcare experience been, because I'm pretty sure that everybody's had kind of their moment in time with a healthcare where it's like, I got this crazy bill, or they spent 2 minutes with me and I have no idea what was the point of that. And so, and it gives us an opportunity to kind of chat and see if the direct primary care model is a fit for them. And, you can also check out my Google reviews. People explain what they like about the practice and what they've found to be very beneficial. But yeah, I do those meet and greets and take that time to kind of talk and get to know people to make sure it's a fit.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. This was great.